Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Can everybody see me? If you can see me, let me know. Raise your hand. Okay, great. Can you hear me? Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. I'm here with the wonderful Claire Boney, and we're going to talk to you guys about the 411. We still have a few minutes before we're supposed to start, but if you guys have any questions specifically about the 411, go ahead and put them in a chat box. We'd love to answer them today. This isn't going to be a super long webinar. We'll probably be out of here in like 45 minutes. But like I said, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in that question bar. And let's see, go up to here. Okay, great. Chat. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Great. Okay, Gina, hi everyone. So yeah, so who's here? Where's everybody listening from? Let me know what city you're in. All right, Norman, Oklahoma, all over the place. Portsmouth, Austin, Long Island, New York. Woo woo. Andrea. All right, everywhere. New Jersey, Seattle, Federal Way, Washington, Florida. Awesome. Hi, guys. So great.
Lots of Floridians.
Yeah, there always are for some reason. We got a big fan club in Florida. Okay, yeah. So like I said, just feel free to put your questions in the chat bar. We'd love to answer any questions that you have. We'll definitely do some questions at the end. Oh, and then we've got Carly from Minneapolis. So we're just trying to navigate all these like little chat bars here. That's great. So what are you guys hoping to find out about the 411? What do you want to learn today? Nothing. Silence.
They know where they're from.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
How to create an effective one.
Okay, for sure.
How not to be better accountability.
Okay, starting 411 with staff. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, your team leader went over it yesterday. Okay.
But they ran out of time.
Okay. Can you make it fascinated by the process, how to be consistent. Okay. Accountability. Okay, perfect. Simplify the to-dos and prioritize them. Okay, hey Brad. Okay, how to create a really specific, doable plan. Growing a team, finding the right people, and organizing all of that. Okay, well, we're not going to be exactly covering how to grow a team, but we will definitely be telling you how to create success once you've got a team.
And how to use your 411.
And how to use your 411. Yeah,
your team.
It'll be worth it. Yeah. Okay, how about this one? What did everybody have for breakfast? What do you have for breakfast?
I have a weird breakfast.
Yeah, of course you do.
I have cheese and like whole grain crackers and then a shake.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. Delicious. Oatmeal with eggnog. Oh, Marnie, living your best life. Oh,
ooh, eggs with avocado.
Oh my God. Andrea, I love Frank's. I'm so addicted to it. Oh my gosh. Gina.
I had Frank's for the first time this weekend at your party.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was Frank's. I thought it was marinara and I over-dipped.
It's very spicy. Yeah, we get the buffalo sauce. My son and I are addicted to it. It's like ridiculous how much we eat a huge bottle every day. Not every day, but every month. All right. Had a microphone malfunction. We're good. Wow, you guys are having good breakfasts.
And coffee, of course. I love,
yeah,
like an obvious.
Of course.
I actually don't drink coffee.
I know you don't.
It's not enough.
What do you just drink your shake in the morning?
Mm-hmm. And water.
Okay, delicious.
I only drink water.
Well, I never used to drink coffee until I had children.
Mm.
And then I started drinking coffee because it works so well.
It works.
It works really well. We got some phone call in listeners. Awesome. Welcome, Samir. Welcome, Deb. Welcome, Christina. Okay, Alan Strange is blinking here. Oh, okay. That's weird. Awesome. AJ's here on the phone. Fantastic. All right, got about 2 minutes left. Got a lot of people registered. We had like over 800 people registered. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually about 1/3 of the people show up. So good for you guys.
It's all you people that had your coffee this morning.
Yeah. You're the 30%ers that show up. Some people do it and they watch it later, but I personally find it hard to watch a webinar later if I'm not live. That's kind of the point of it. So, yep. What's everyone doing for the holidays? What are you doing for the holidays?
A lot of family. Yep. Friday of this week with my mom and her husband, and then we have Christmas with my grandmother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
And all of her family.
Oh, wow.
And then that's on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day with my dad, and then my in-laws.
Wow.
My other in-laws.
Big Christmas. Yeah.
They all live nearby. It's very convenient.
Nice.
Don't have to fly anywhere.
Who's going overseas for Christmas? I'm just curious. Anybody? All right. Zach is going to New Orleans alone with zero family. A wise man. Anybody going anywhere fun for Christmas besides New Orleans? Okay, I'm good.
Wendy's addicted to moving.
I'm messing with the microphone. New Jersey.
Oh, snow tubing. I've never been snow tubing.
Oh, you haven't?
Actually,
Oh.
the first time that I ever saw snow, like actively snowing, was when I was in college in New Orleans. And it was the day of my very first college final ever. And I was sitting in this coffee shop, and it was like all glass, and I'm like facing outside, and it started snowing. And it was supposed to rain that day. And I'm weird. I don't like closed-toed shoes, so it was very cold, but I was wearing flip-flops, which Wendy believes, I'm sure. And I had an umbrella. And so I'm like walking to class with an umbrella and flip-flops, and it's snowing, and I'm like, is this normal? I don't really know what to do. But I was so mesmerized because I had never seen snow like falling out of the sky.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, I grew up in Minnesota, so we grew up with tons of snow. And actually, I just had a flashback of when I was in college. I went to the University of Wisconsin. There's this big hill called Bascom Hill. There's other hills there. And we used to take the cafeteria trays, and we would go sledding down the hill on the cafeteria trays, you know, those like big brown cafeteria trays. So super fun. Anybody from Madison on the line or Minnesota?
Oh, traveling with 3 dachshunds. That's brave.
Wow. Franklin is traveling with 3 dachshunds, like in a car or? That sounds scary.
In a Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, wow. Good for you. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get started here since it's 2 o'clock. We had an appointment at 2 o'clock, and it's 2 o'clock. So let's get started, Claire. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. And welcome to the 411 webinar. I'm just going to pull the keyboard over here so I can actually advance the screen. But I want to welcome everyone. I want to introduce myself. My name is Wendy Papazan, and I lead the Papazan Properties Group here in Austin, Texas. We've got expansion teams in Dallas, Houston, Minneapolis, and St. Louis. And I'm here with the lovely Claire. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Claire Boney, and my role on our team is as the Director of Growth. And that means that I get to meet with talented people here in Austin and see if our team might be a fit for them. And then also I get to hold our agents able to accomplishing their goals and growing into bigger versions of themselves.
Yeah. So essentially on our team, I used to do all the 411's, and then I fired myself from that job. And as you'll learn, Claire is doing a much better job of it than I am. So let's get started. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Really today, I just want to help you guys get focused. You know, it's the end of 2018, and it's fun to look back and see everything that we accomplished. And sometimes it can be satisfying, and sometimes it can be depressing when we think about how busy we were in 2018. And then really we ask ourselves, well, where did we go? What did we really accomplish? So the goal of the 411 is to really stop the busyness and to get down to business. So that's what we're going to show you today. Busyness can be addictive. There's a hormone in your body, a chemical in your body called dopamine. And when you do little tasks, your body actually releases dopamine, and that's how you can accomplish a bigger task. But sometimes in real estate, we get addicted to doing the little things like checking our email or, you know, answering a phone call or sending a text message, because that actually gives us a little bit of dopamine. And so we have to sort of get beyond that and really focus on the big things that are important. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll have learned about the 411. It's a simple system for massive success. I know that for me personally, it's been really uber successful. I was actually using the 411 long before I was even in real estate. I started it when I was working in marketing, and I used it with the people that worked under me because I didn't have a system for holding my people accountable. And Jay, who's been at Keller Williams for almost 20 years, shared the 411 with me. And so even before I was in real estate, I was using the 411. When did you start the 411?
So I actually got into real estate and no one told me about the 411. And so I did not use it until, I've only been using it for 3 years.
Okay.
And when I was finally introduced to it and it was really explained to me, I actually got pretty angry because I was like, why did no one explain this sooner? Because what happened was my productivity went like skyrocketing.
Oh, wow.
And the things that actually mattered and the things that made me feel good at the end of the day and the, you know, end of the month, those started happening. And so I went into total victim mode. I was like, why did no one explain this? So really, I'm very passionate about the 411 at this point. And it's, I mean, like a personal mission for me to, you know, show people what it is so that they can transform their productivity.
Yep. And that's why we're here. I mean, that's my personal mission as well. I tell all the people on my real estate team, if you come into my organization and you don't learn anything else, if you can really master the 411 and have a relationship with the 411, it really is something that can drastically change your life forever, both personally and professionally. I really believe that. And I think about the success that I've had and the success that Jay's had, and of course, the success that you've had. And it all has to do with breaking things down, breaking big goals down, and having that daily and weekly relationship with them. So yeah, so this has been a big integral part of my success. I actually found my first 411 the other day from 2010, and guess what my goals were that year?
Big.
Not really. No, I found my first 411, and my big, hairy, audacious goal for that year was to make $15,000.
That's 15, not 50.
Yeah, in 1 year. So not really thinking big, and yet obviously I was using the 411. I blew through my goal that year. I ended up selling 18 houses my first year in real estate. And now 9 years into it, our team's going to close about $2.8 million in commission checks. So it's pretty exciting. So if you guys want to have success like that, stay tuned so you can hear exactly how to do it with the 411. This is just a picture of my kids when they were 3 and 5. This is when I started in real estate. This is when I started to use the 411 in earnest. They're obviously adorable. I guess that was just a gratuitous kid picture that I threw in there. Sorry, guys. They are so cute. They're not cute now. They're 13 and 14, but they were cute then. So this is what we're going to learn today. We are going to learn how to create a killer 411. Your step 2.
Oh, we're going to maintain the 411, which really means to create a relationship with your 411 and make it a habit.
Yeah. And then we're going to learn how to develop a 411 culture on your team. So a lot of you have been requesting that. Like, how do you create a culture where everyone's doing the 411 every week? Everyone's on the same page with the big goals, and everyone is doing their part to make those big goals happen.
And then how to facilitate an actual 411 meeting that's effective. That is really the majority of the 20% of my job is facilitating effective 411s.
Yep, and that's really succeeding through others. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
I calculated how many 411s I've done.
Oh, how many?
It's over 500 at this point.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Well, you're a master.
So
that's incredible.
A lot of time in 411s.
Wow, yeah. I should think about how many I've done over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I went back. Thanks to time blocking, it wasn't that hard to
figure
out.
Well, Claire was the productivity coach here at our office, and so she did a lot of 411s, and then you've done a lot on our team.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Oh, so this is also gratuitous. We're hiring. If you guys know of anyone who's looking to join an amazing team in Austin, Dallas, Houston, Minneapolis, or St. Louis, you can text join PPG to 44222 for more information on our team, or you can visit papazanproperties.com/careers, and we'd love to answer any questions that you have. Okay, so just the genesis of the 411 really comes from Gary Keller, and Gary Keller would tell you that he is not usually the smartest person in the room. He's definitely not the most hardworking person in the room, although he is extremely hardworking, but he is the most focused person in the room. And his ability to take a big goal and break it down chunk by chunk and chip away at the one thing that's most important every single day, every single week, is what has created massive success in his life. And you guys, success looks different than you think it is. It's really chipping away at something over and over and over again until you finally see that hockey stick of success. If you haven't read the One Thing book, it's a fantastic book. Obviously, you know, I'm completely biased since Jay is my husband and the co-author, but it's changed my life. We were living the One Thing about 5 years before it actually came out. And then of course we've been living it since it came out 6 years ago, and it's sold over almost a couple million copies. Uh-oh, have we lost audio? Can anybody hear me? If you can hear me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. Okay.
Only one person lost the
Okay,
audio.
great. Thank you. That was a close one. Yeah, so just talking about the one thing, there's lots of free resources on the onething.com on 411 and goal setting and things like that. So I would encourage you to go and check those out. So the 411 is really for all of us. And having been in real estate for 9 years, I really feel your pain. I can remember coming home many days just feeling tired and worn out and exhausted, and Jay turning to me, my husband Jay turning to me and literally saying, well, you know, what did you do today? And me just thinking like, well, what did I do today? I felt very busy, and yet maybe I never accomplished anything. And so I think a lot of us feel that way, especially it's December. It's been a long year. You guys are probably feeling frustrated. Maybe you've kind of hit that ceiling of achievement in your business. And so just, I feel your pain. And, you know, especially in those early years when my kids were little, 3 and 5, when I started, I would be staying up late, working harder and harder, and nothing was working. And so I really had to get serious. And that's when I got completely serious about my 411 and started having a relationship with my 411. And for me, that was freedom. So. All right, so you want to walk us through what a 411 is?
Sure. So what it actually stands for is 1 year, 1 month, 4 weeks. And so when I joined our team, someone was like, well, what do I do during the 5th week of the month? Like, there's a few months every year that have a 5th week. And I was like, well, why don't you just take that one off? And so that's actually, you know, Chris, that's the week he takes off.
Oh, wow.
Is every time there's a 5th week, he goes on vacation.
I like that.
And we just plan around that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, so it's very simple. It's just breaking everything down, taking your big goal, your 1 year goal, and then chunking it down into 1 month and 4 weeks.
Because what happened for me, at least, like when I was in the business, is I would use a GPS, which is a tool that we have at Keller Williams, where you map out your year and you say, you know, what's my big goal for the year? What are the 3 priorities that are going to get me there? And then what are 5 strategies to help me nail my priorities?
It's your business plan.
Right. Yep. So I would make that, and then I would like put it in a drawer, and then at the end of the year, I would find it, and I would be like, oh. I remember making this 12 months ago.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Let's
did
update
that.
it for next year.
Yeah. And then completely forgot I said I was going to do that. So the purpose of the 411 is to take what you say you're going to do and then actually make it actionable, so that you don't get to the end of the year and find yourself surprised that you didn't achieve your goal.
Because who here's got shiny object syndrome? Who has ever had a goal, created a business plan, and then veered off of it?
And everybody raises their hand.
Yeah, completely. It's so easy to do. And it's actually a part of human behavior to be that way. And so we have to create tools and systems in order to help us, you know, get those blinders on and focus what we really want to accomplish. And the 411 is that. So again, like I said, it's just a simple tool to cut through the clutter. It was created by Gary Keller to hold his employees accountable, and probably to hold himself accountable actually at first. And it's been very successful. And there's a whole culture at Keller Williams that does it as well. Everyone there does the 411, and Jay does it for all his employees once a week. And so we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just doing it how Gary does it. So who is actually using the 411 already? Raise your hand if you are.
Oh, a lot of you.
Okay. So you guys are using the 411, but maybe who's really struggling to put it into practice? Okay. Got a lot of hands raised. Okay. Okay, I'm struggling to really form it. Yeah, I'm struggling.
I'm using it sometimes.
Okay.
Not looking at it regularly.
Okay. Complicated to understand how to execute. Okay, great. Well, we're gonna walk everybody through it. You forgot about it. Yeah. Jeffrey forgot about it. Accountability, yeah, biggest issue. Do not implement consistently. Yep, that's true. Yeah, well, it's really a habit. So we're going to talk about how to make that habit, to make it that practice a habit. Okay, so you guys probably know this if you've read the one thing, but a lot of us operate from a to-do list. We just come in, we write all the things that we need to do, and the fallacy behind the to-do list is that it seems as though everything matters equally when really it doesn't. So we need to take our to-do list and make it a success list. And that's really what the 411 is, right? It's not a to-do list.
Right. So we really need to differentiate between what a to-do list is. And I give kind of a ridiculous example, but it's like taking out the trash is on our to-do list. Right. Like at the end of the day, that's not going to cause us to reach our big goals for the year. And yet those types of activities, vacuuming, all of those things take up our time. And at the end of the day, we are able to say we were really busy, but we weren't really productive.
Right, exactly. And so really the 411 is our success list. This is how we're going to move everything, the big rocks in our life forward. Okay, so this is an example of a 411, and my 411 looks a little different and your 411 looks a little different too. And so I would encourage you guys to use the 411 that actually works for you.
Yeah.
And there are a few different models on our team. And so we're not really so strict about the model that people use, and I'll show you what mine looks like. But essentially, do you want to just walk everyone kind of through this?
Sure. So this version has personal and business as the two categories. Sometimes you'll see one with KW that actually has 4 categories, and that's personal, business, financial, and also job. And a lot of times people are like, well, what's the difference between business and job? Sounds pretty similar. And you can think of those as working in the business versus working on your business. But at the top, we have our annual goals so that we know that by the end of the year, these are the things that we're going to accomplish. And then we're breaking those down into monthly goals. And we're saying, well, in order for us to achieve those, what does that look like monthly? And so sometimes if that is something that has a number to it, like close 25 buyers, close 25 sellers, that's just a metric that we're dividing by 12, right? How many am I going to have to do? Or maybe you're looking at your past trends and realizing that instead of saying I'm going to close 2 buyers and 2 sellers every month, you know that in January that's going to look different from perhaps June based on your past history. And you're actually doing a bell curve there. And then we're saying each week, what does that look like? So some of the feedback that I've gotten from teaching the 411 to a lot of people is that it seems like this is just like the same math and it gets kind of redundant. And it's like I'm taking, 25 buyers and then I'm dividing by 12 months. So then that's 2. And then I'm taking, and really that's 25 buyers, 25 sellers. That's, going to be 4 per month. So that's 1 per week. And it's like, why am I just doing all of this, sort of redundant math
over and over again? Yeah.
But the reality is every time you do it, it keeps it front of mind for you.
Yeah. Top of mind.
And another place that I really see people go wrong is they'll fill out their whole 411, which we want to do at the beginning of the month, but they'll fill out the whole thing for all of the weeks.
Right. Yeah.
So then they
That's
say,
a big no-no.
right. So say like week 1, I need to close 1 person. Week 2, I need to close 1 person. Week 3, I need to close 1 person. Week 4, I want to close 1 person. And that's not how we want to use our 411. We actually have no idea what we're going to be doing in week 2 until we get there, because it's going to be based on what we did during week 1.
Yep. Does that make sense, everyone? It's very basic, and yet it's so powerful. So I'm going to show you what my 411 looks like. Mine is a good deal more complicated. Yeah. And I have a bigger business. I have multiple businesses that I run. I got big financial goals up there. So for me, breaking it out into these categories, and on the left side we've got the business, on the right side we've got the personal. I've got my charitable goals on there. I've got some habits. I've got my growth plan, and then I just go ahead and I just track those every single month. And if you look down on the monthly goals, which are at the bottom, and I'm going to roll over to the next page too, so you can see what the next page looks like. But really, I'm taking the things that I haven't accomplished, because normally this is June. So normally I would have a good deal of these things crossed off. I keep my 411 like this, but I cross off. So like, let's say I'd hired a personal assistant, I would have that crossed off. Or let's say I'd hired a sales manager, I'd have that crossed off. Let's say I'd finished one of my systems. And so then every month I'm thinking like, what do I need? What can I chunk away? What can I do this month to kind of chunk away at it? Okay, Franklin says, will you send this out at the end? Yeah, anybody that's interested can.
It's being recorded.
Yeah, it's being recorded. Yeah, so you can find it. You can find the recording, and we'll send it to you, so you'll be able to see a picture of this.
And Anne said, good idea to cross them off rather than delete. Definitely.
Yeah. Clarissa's having a panic attack. Oh, I have a lot of leverage. That's the thing. Okay, so then this is my weekly goals, right? So I'm just chunking it down to my weekly stuff. So I'm trying to figure out what the return on investment is for leads for 2017. I need to do an org chart. I've got some personal stuff going on.
A gator is a vehicle, not an animal.
Right.
Malia.
A new gator, yeah. We have exotic animals on our ranch, but not that exotic. And then I got my numbers to track underneath, so I just keep track of all my numbers there. And then I actually do have my to-do list on here, but it's really my 80%. So that's all those ideas and things that I need to take care of, that I'm just not, that are not really a priority, but I still need to get finished.
And there are blank copies of this on KW Connect. I'm seeing that question a few times. But at the end of the day, I think what Wendy and I both would really recommend is like start with that one that you can find online. But where this is really going to be most effective for you is for you to tweak it and make it what works for your brain.
Absolutely.
Wendy is, clearly very electronic with hers. Mine, I actually do by hand, and that is just what works better for me. So you'll want to play with it a few different ways and figure out what's better for you.
Yours? Yeah. So here's what Claire's looks like. It's slightly different.
Mine's handwritten.
And hers is handwritten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reality is that one page isn't doing it for me. Like Wendy could not fit all of this that you're seeing on this slide on one handwritten page. And so next year I'm going to be changing mine to actually be 2 pages so that I can fit more on there.
Yeah. It's just whatever makes sense to you.
But you have to play with it.
Yep. Okay. So you want to walk us through this? This is the Pareto Principle, essentially. You guys have heard about the 80-20 rule probably if you've been with Keller Williams at any
amount of time. So when you read the One Thing book and when you listen to your leadership and all of that, you'll hear about the 80-20 or the Pareto Principle, which means like if we start with this list of all these different ways that we can accomplish what we want to accomplish, let's say that that's your list of 25 that you see on the screen, then what we want to do is we just want to ask, okay, well, if we know from lots and lots and lots of research and proof that we're actually going to get 80% of our results from only 20% of the things on this list. All we need to do is identify the 20%, or if it's a list of 25, then 5 things that are going to give us the biggest return on our time. And then we create a new list and we say, instead of dealing with 25 things, let's just deal with 5. And then we can ask that same question again. What's the 20% of this list of 5 things? And that's going to narrow us down to 1. And honestly, I had heard this, over and over and over and over from my years of being with KW. And I had gotten kind of immune to it. And I was like, I got it. I really understand it. I don't need anyone to tell me this anymore. But one day what happened was, instead of thinking about the 20%, I instead thought about the 80%. And I thought about the amount of time that I was wasting doing the 80%. And that was a lot more painful.
Yeah.
And it's like the pain versus pleasure that we talk about and learn about, in bold and places. And so instead of focusing on my, finding my 20%, I focused on the pain of wasting 80% of my time. And that really helped me get the importance.
I love that. And what's great about real estate is if you actually focus on the 20% that matters, right? So let's say last year I made $1 million. Okay. And 20% of my work yielded 80% of my results. Okay. So 20% of what I did made me $800,000. Then I've got $200,000 that I can pay probably 2 people to take that 80% off my plate. And we're not going to talk about leverage, but I'm really passionate about it. And that's essentially what you can do in real estate is that if you focus on all the right things, you can earn the right to pay people to do those things that are not a good use of your time or you're not good at.
Well, and when I bring someone new on the team, we take them through the 30, 60, 90. You're hired for 30 days at a time. Here are the things that you need to accomplish in your first 30 days. But what I say is, at the end of the day, if you sort of fail on all of these except for having conversations and going on appointments, I'm not really going to care that much.
Yeah.
Because your 20% is to make contact with people and find opportunity and meet with them.
Yep.
And so if you do all the other stuff, right, those are the other 24 things on your list that just don't really matter all that much.
And that's what success looks like, folks. Okay, so now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into how do we maintain the 411 habit. I hear a lot of people saying that they've created a 411, they've maybe got it in a folder somewhere, but they don't have a relationship with it. And so I'll just tell you what I do, and then maybe Clara can share what she does. Is that for me, and I think we've got a slide around it. Yeah. So what I've done is I've time blocked planning time, and that's really time that I spend with my 411. And it's a pretty intimate relationship I have with my 411. I don't pull it out and spend 5 minutes on it. I probably spend, if I'm doing a monthly one, so it's the beginning of a month, I probably spend over an hour looking at my calendar, thinking about my plan, thinking about all the things that I need to get done. And if it's a weekly 411, I probably spend at least 30 minutes. And Jay does the same thing. And so our kids know, like on Sunday at some point, mom or dad are going to be, sitting around for an hour with my computer in front of me and my calendar and looking at the things I need to get accomplished. And I can't tell you guys how important it is to pull out your calendar. And this is something that honestly escaped me for a long time. I was using the 411, but I never pulled it out with my calendar. And what's so powerful about pulling your calendar out is that sometimes you might have 5 appointments booked, or you might have 10 appointments booked. And if you're just thinking like, I want to get these things done this week without looking at your calendar, then you're not really figuring out how much time you have to do those things. And you're not creating time blocks for them. So for instance, if you want to send out a newsletter to your clients, you can't really create a newsletter and send it out in 15-minute increments over the course of a week. It would literally drive you bananas, right? So it's a lot better to have a 2 or 3 hour window where you can figure out, here's my list, here's the content I need, here's how I'm going to send it out. And so if you need to do your newsletter, then you need to look at your calendar and time block a 3 hour window if that's your most important thing for the week. Does that make sense?
Completely.
Okay.
The way that I do it is I actually have different reminders that go off on my phone I have an iPhone, so use a reminders app. And the time that they go off is based on their priority. So it tells me every morning to write down an affirmation for the day, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and a quote. And so that's how I start every morning. And then the second thing that goes off is to look at my 411.
Okay.
Because what I hear really frequently is I'm doing the 411 and I'm looking at it consistently. But what consistently means is once a week.
Once a week.
And by the time a week has gone by, all you can say is, did I do it or didn't I do it? Instead of, am I on track? Do I need to adjust? And then what happens is you end up carrying things over, right? If I was behind on my conversations, or I didn't write as many handwritten thank you notes or whatever, then that just has to roll to the next week. And then we start our week behind and frustrated and overwhelmed. So really, your 411 is something that you look at every morning.
Every morning.
Every morning.
Every morning.
And
every morning.
Yeah. How often? Every morning. So we actually talked on our team recently that when I was at Family Reunion earlier this year with Keller Williams, our big conference, you know, Jay Papazan and Jeff Woods were talking about actually checking your 411 before you check your email.
Yep.
And that way your 411 is dictating what you're doing instead of letting the rest of the world dictate what you're going to do. So I have time blocked every morning for certain activities. I get to the office at 7:30 and I lock my door, and no one's allowed to talk to me until 8:30 because I need that time. But I do my 411 with my husband every week on Sunday nights. And that's a change we made recently, and it has really, really helped. I was doing it Monday mornings, which was fine for the weekly ones, but to do the monthly one, to start your week on a Monday morning, it was really stressful.
Yeah, I highly, especially the monthly one, I highly recommend taking time on Sunday and really blocking off at least an hour. I mean, really to be very thoughtful. And honestly, you guys, this is not my, you know, I know that sometimes people look at me from the outside and they think, oh, you're so organized, you're such a planner, you're so good at all that stuff. And really at the end of the day, that's not my natural behavior. I'm just like a lot of you guys. I am blowing and going. I like to be spontaneous. I don't like to, but what I've learned over the years is that a little bit of planning once a month, a little bit of planning once a week, a little bit of planning every single day is actually going to give you more freedom than you could ever imagine you'd have. And it's incredible. So
it's counterintuitive that to be structured gives you flexibility.
Yeah. Well, I can remember Chris Heller came and spoke at the Market Center a long time ago. I don't know if you were there, but he said to me that discipline is freedom. And that really, I had that on a sticky note on my computer for a really long time. It's really powerful for me. So, okay. This is the other thing. Who's going to hold you accountable to your 411? So for me, it's a habit. I've just been doing it for so long, so many years. For me, it's a habit. I know to do it on Sunday. I don't feel, and I don't do it every Sunday, but you know, 48 out of 52 Sundays, I probably do it. And when I don't do it, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And so I know that's how it's a habit. And then every time I get to the office, I open it up. So, you know, I have a few coaching clients. I hold them accountable to their 411s. And so you just need to figure out who's going to hold you accountable until it becomes a habit. And it could be someone on your team. It could be someone else in your office. It could be, you know, a productivity coach, something like that.
At the end of the day, we're always going to be more accountable to someone else than we are to ourselves. And that's even true for people who are very self-accountable. I'm a very self-accountable person, and yet I went to the doctor this morning because Wendy held me accountable to it, and it only took me
how'd it go?
Good news, my knee's fine. I get to work out again.
Okay, good. Yay.
But you know, that's why I went.
Yeah.
Is because Wendy brought that up a few times.
Yeah.
So, you know, even if you are someone that identifies as self-accountable, and that is a spectrum, some people are and some people aren't, even if you're really high on that, you're still going to be more accountable to someone else than you are to yourself. So when you're choosing who's going to hold you accountable, my biggest piece of advice for that is to make sure it's someone you respect. It doesn't need to be someone that is outproducing you. It doesn't need to be someone that's even in real estate, but at the end of the day, it needs to be someone you respect. And I met with one of my agents, Andre, who's actually on this webinar right now. And she said, I'm going to do XYZ. And I said, great, I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to write, or else we're going to choose a consequence. And she said, no, I don't need a consequence. Your disappointment in me is enough of a consequence, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's all it took. But sometimes for other people, we choose consequences of things that will help them get where they want to go. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got some smoking hot 411 tips here.
Yes. So first thing is to front load. Front loading can happen on lots of different levels. You can front load your day, you can front load your week, you can front load your month. What front loading means is if you have a certain amount of something to accomplish, instead of evenly spreading it out over a certain amount of time, front load it. So typically we have more energy and focus at the beginning of the day. Typically we have more energy and focus at the beginning of the week. Same with the beginning of the month, because we still have time. If we spread things out evenly, or if we end up backloading, then what happens is we get down to the wire. That can be really stressful and discouraging.
Yep.
So, if you're going to go on 8 appointments over the next 4 weeks, you could choose to do 2 every week, or you could say, I'm going to do 3 the first week, 3 the second week, right? And then you're actually ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is if you end up doing 3 the third week, or even the 2 that you should have done mathematically, then now you're ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's much better to be ahead than behind.
Well, and I know for me, and I know at Keller Williams International, all the 411s happen on Monday, right? And so on our team, 411 is supposed to be in your supervisor's hand by 8:30 in the morning. And that's not, and that's not really for me. That's not me needing that accountability, but it's really for that person to start on Monday morning with everything they need to know to be successful for the week. And I know for me, I typically have 9 to 10 appointments every single Monday with people on my team, expansion partners, things like that, other appointments, and then fewer appointments on Friday because I'm tired. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I'm cooked by 4 every day. So I get up early. I get up at, before 5 every day. And so just like getting all that done just makes me feel really good.
Yep. I don't do 411s after 3 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, I'm a zombie. I need to go home. I need to eat food and, reset.
Yeah.
So front load. One thing that's actually not on this list that I just realized, so write this down, it's not in your slides, is to think about your 411 as your CEO meeting. And that's something that we talk about on our team.
Yes.
And what I really drive home with our agents is that my job is to facilitate a meeting with yourself, right? This is not a meeting with me. This is a meeting with you. It's just that someone's there to facilitate it. You're the CEO of your business, and you need to treat this meeting with respect. If you worked a 9-to-5 job and the CEO of your company came to town and emailed you and said, hey, I want to meet with you, are you going to be late to that meeting? No way. And you have to respect yourself the same way you would respect someone else as the CEO of your business. You arrive on time, you arrive prepared, you stay focused. You're not going to take a call from a client when you're meeting with the CEO, are you? You only have 30 minutes a week to do this, so take it seriously. The next one is to include your time off in your calculation. So what we do on our team is we, calculate with something similar to the CGI calculator. And we say, if this is our profit goal, then how many appointments do we need to go on every week? And what I did is I actually factor in the amount of weeks that the agents are taking off. So we say, what vacations are you going on? What trainings are you going to? How many days is that going to take you out of the office? And then we say, well, great. So that's 21 days. So that's 3 weeks. So you're going to have 3 less weeks of productivity. If you don't do this calculation, then what it means is when you figure out how many appointments you need to go on in any given time and you go on vacation, you have to make up for that before you go, right? If you're going to be gone for 2 weeks and normally you would need to go on 4 appointments during those 2 weeks, you're going to have to make up those 4 appointments. And that's usually really stressful and discouraging to have to double your production the week before you go out of town.
Yeah.
So I really encourage you to figure out your vacation when you're making that calculation so that when you go out of town, you're just off the hook for that week because you've already factored it in. But what you can't do is go out of town and let yourself off the hook if you haven't already factored it in.
Yeah. And Jennifer Lewis keeps raising her hand. I don't know. Are you, Jen, did you have?
She's just very engaged.
She's just like, woo, woo, go Claire, run it. Okay, just making sure. And then we already talked about it not being a to-do list. Okay, so here's how you develop a 411 culture on your team. First of all, as the leader, if you're the rainmaker of the team, you need to make the 411 the thing. It needs to be the most important thing. And I think for a lot of people, it's just an aside, or it's something that they do with their people if they've got time or if they don't have an appointment. But for me, the 411 is everything, because that shows, first of all, it shows your love to the people that are on your team with you, your operations team and your agents. And so if you are consistently not showing up or showing up late or canceling the 411, what you're telling your people is the 411 is not important and that they're not important. And that's terrible. And so that's where it all starts. It starts with accountability with the rainmaker and making it the 411. And then obviously we're time blocking it, right? Unless you have a director of growth, like we have with Claire, who's a great coach. The most 411s you're probably going to want to do is probably like 5. You know, your span of control should really only be about 5. And if you're managing many sales agents or a lot of people on your operations team, you need to figure out a structure so that you're not doing all those 411s. I think I have about 6 or 7, because we're hoping to have an expansion director at some point, and so I'm sort of doing some of that. But that's where it starts. And then we actually do a daily stand-up, a one thing meeting every morning, where we all say what our most important thing is, and we do that after scripts and dialogues. And then your weekly meeting should be on the calendar with your people. So it's time blocked, same time every Monday. And then, like I said before, the 411 is due to the supervisor by 8:30 a.m. on Monday.
Right. So we're getting a couple of questions. Right now, I meet with our agents Monday and Wednesday. So some people are Monday, some people are Wednesday. Ideally, that would all be Monday, but I have too many people to get.
How many do you have, by the way? Tyler is asking.
I have, it depends on how you look at it, but like 16 to 18 that I'm handling.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Different people. So they're half an hour each. Max, really, that needs to be 25 minutes. So I have 5 minutes to regroup. And so that if someone's having like a particularly challenging or emotional meeting, then we have time to go over without running into the next person's meeting. And for me, I have them turn 2 things in each Monday. 411 is due, and that's so that they know what they're doing that week. Mm-hmm. And then also a prep form. So for those of you that are in MAPS coaching, it's sort of like the prep form that your agents or that you do for your MAPS coach. And the purpose of that is twofold. The first thing is that I want them to answer some questions so they can be introspective about their week, and really, you know, this can like substitute as journaling for those of them that aren't mm-hmm. journaling regularly. And it's also for me to understand where they are mindset wise. So I need those ahead of time so that I can look at them before we actually meet.
I love that. Okay, Kristen's asking, what do you do as the leader when you go on vacation? So typically what I used to do is I would just pair everybody up. So again, if you think about the 411 as a meeting with yourself, right? A meeting with yourself as the CEO, somebody else on the team can hold you accountable to that. So we'll just pair up, and team members will just do their own 411s.
We're getting questions about what's on the prep form. So okay. I'm going to pull that up and tell you all about it.
Awesome.
So it's mainly just questions for them to...
I'm going to go back so we don't have to look at this guy. Wait, we'll see him again. Ah, there he is. Ah.
I love it. So some of the questions on here, I've gotten them from all different places. One of them is, what are your results from the growth work that you did between our last meeting and this meeting? What have you learned since our last session?
Well, and you know, we could probably send this out when we send out the recording.
Can it be sent out to everyone?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what gave you the most energy? One that's on here is, I'm hoping you won't ask me about blank. That's what I always ask about.
Love that.
Challenges I'm facing, actions I'm procrastinating, the one thing they want to focus on, and then questions they have. What I tell them is, you do not need to come up with an answer for each of these. Like, the purpose is not to make you write something down just for the sake of writing something down. If you don't have something for that particular category that week, skip it, doesn't matter. And some of them hate some of the questions that are on there. Some of them are like, I don't like the what should you not ask me, or what do I not want to talk about question. I'm like, fine, delete it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
No big deal. Okay, Okay, so this is really the nuts and bolts of how you facilitate an effective 411. You've created a 411 culture on your team, hopefully. And really, it's just making the time together a priority. You don't skip it other than an emergency. An appointment is not an emergency. A $2 million listing appointment is not an emergency, okay? You have control over your schedule. And if you don't want to do the 411s, then you need to figure out who on your team does want to do the 411 so that you're not missing them. Because really, especially with your operations people, you guys, this is love. You know, your time with them is love. And if you're not taking 30 minutes out of your week to have a designated time with them, it's a slap in the face. It really is. Show up on time and be prepared and review the notes from the previous 411. So I'm going to show you the system that I created. And then I hired Claire, and of course she plussed the system. That's what talent does. Okay, so this is actually Rosalind Luna. Rosalind's been doing 411s with me for 6 years.
And for anyone that doesn't know, there should be a way in your system for you to see both the slides and our video. Yeah. So if you can't see our actual bodies, there's a way to do a side by side.
Yeah. So well, and I'll explain it too. So it's just a plain old manila folder that I have, and then on the inside of the folder I've stapled her GPS for the year. So this is Rosalind's GPS for 2019. She's got some big goals, people. And then in this folder I put all her, I keep all her 411s. So this is probably not 6 years of 411s, but this is several years of 411s. I have her contract in here. I actually have her old KPA. I have all of the I have everything, interview questions, everything from 6 years ago. This is my Rosalind file. And it's kind of fun to look back, because I've got these, 411s from 2012. And
with our old logo.
I know, you guys look at our goal that year was 66 units. That's when I first got my good leverage. And then while you're facilitating it, the person whose 411 it is gives you their 411 by 8:30 that morning. They either email it or they, like Claire flips a copy under my door, or they bring a couple copies to you with the meeting, at the meeting. And so they've got a copy and I've got a copy. And then I take notes on the 411 about what we talked about and what the, what the action items are. And then every week I just go back and I review what we talked about.
Yep.
Make sense?
So my system is inspired by Wendy's. It's largely similar, but slightly different. So I have a binder for each person.
It's definitely neater.
It's definitely higher C.
Mine's like a crappy folder.
So inside I have like a cover sheet, and on here I have the agent, I have their big why. I have different things like how they do the majority of their lead gen. I have their net worth, because building wealth is something that we're really focused on the team, and a lot of our agents have net worth goals that we're working towards. I have which day they take off each week. I have how to win and how to lose with them. I have some of their family members on here and their pets, and then I have their love language, the top like 1 or 2, and then things like their favorite color and different stuff like that. So that's just kind of my cover page in case I need to quickly reference anything. And then inside, same thing, I have all their different 411s and their prep sheets. So 411 and prep form is due to me electronically, and then they have to bring a paper copy because I get, 18 emails every Monday, and I'm not going to click print times 2 on each of those emails. So they get to bring their paper to me. And then that goes in here. And something I've added recently that has been a huge game changer for my ability to keep track of things is now I just have notebook paper at the front. And the notebook paper, I write, the date, and then I have the growth work that I'm assigning them and general notes. I was taking those notes on the actual 411s that they were printing, and I was finding that I wasn't going back and looking at it because it was just like getting buried under all the other 411s. So this way, if they don't do something from last week, I can still see it 2, 3, 4, however many weeks, and I see that that box isn't checked so that I can stay on top of that.
Yes. Okay. So someone was asking about the most important part of the 411 is having the metrics. Yeah. And what that really looks like is making sure that your 411 has essentially that SMART goals. So goals that are, that have metrics in them. So if your goal is to sell 25 houses this year, then I would suggest you put that in your annual goals, and then you need to track that. So what I do on mine, if my goal is to sell 300 houses, then right immediately after it, and I track it in other places too, but I've done this from the beginning. So right now it would be, 11 of 300 houses sold this year, or, we have to have 37 listings this month. We have, 24 of 37 already, and I'm updating those every month. So that gets me engaged in the metrics, because I'm not I understand the importance of numbers. I look at my numbers, but I'm not, I wouldn't consider myself a numbers person. And so that just really gets me engaged in that, and keeps me thinking about my metrics every single week.
So the actuals are important. And like Wendy said earlier, we don't require that you use any specific 411 format, but there are a few things that I require everyone to have on their 411, no matter what theirs looks like. One of those is actuals, because we need to know how much did you do. And then another one is more of just like a yes, no, like a binary, did I do it, didn't I do it? So like on Wendy's, that's did I strike through it or did I not strike through it? On mine, it's a checkbox. I prefer a checkbox to a strike through. Some people like to turn it green. You do whatever you do, but for me, there needs to be a visual that I can very quickly look and see, did you or didn't you? And then I need to see the actual. If you're saying you're going to have 100 conversations and you didn't have 100, then you don't check the box or strike through it or whatever.
Right.
But if you had 99, that's really different than if you only had 10.
Right.
So I want to know how much you actually did.
Well, do you want to just role play real quick what you do in a 411?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously not the whole 30 minutes, but maybe just how you initiate it and what it looks like.
Yeah. So the first thing we do in our 411 is we review growth work. So whatever they said that they were going to do that's kind of outside of the 411, which probably supports something on the 411, maybe a calculation, we go over that.
Okay. And so I never did that. And so that's when you have someone whose full-time job is to essentially coach and lead the agents on the team, you can do that, but that's not something that I ever did in my meeting. So that's awesome. And then when you're getting down to reviewing the 411, what does that look like?
So actually looking at the 411, it's looking to see what we accomplished. So I always want to hit those first. So like, great job that we did these things.
Right. So this was your goals for last week. How'd you do? Right. So a lot of times I'll just say that. How'd you do on your goals?
Yep.
Okay. Hit them all. Okay, great. We don't need to go over it.
Yeah.
Congrats. You get a pat on the back. Oh, well, I really struggle with this. Okay, great. Well, let's talk about that.
Right.
And we have a conversation.
But if it's something that they did, that they had been struggling with, and this was the first week they did it, then I want to talk about that more.
Okay.
And I always want to ask how they feel about it.
Okay.
Because the more that we can tie feelings to what they've done, right? Logic makes them think, emotion makes them act.
You made 100 contacts. How'd that make you feel?
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to think about the actual feeling that they experienced, because that brings them, that's just like reinforcing what happened there. And then just asking, so what happened here? This is a really important place to not ask with why didn't you, but asking, so what kept you? Because why questions put us on defense automatically. And even if you're not coming from that place, a why question will put them in that
really
place.
simple question to ask is, well, what happened?
Yep.
Not why did you do that?
Right.
Yeah. What happened?
Yep. And then someone asked what happens if they don't do it. Well, here's what's really important is to actually dig for motivation. So on the slide it says why, but that's actually asking, like, why do you want to do this? Like, what's actually important to you about accomplishing this? Because when someone isn't hitting something, it's probably because either they don't actually care, or we haven't done a good enough job of getting them to buy in to something that they actually care about. So we have to actually
and remember that, the basis of the 411 is actually their goals. Right. So on our team, we have minimum standards to remain on the team, but at the end of the day, everyone's goals is their goals. I mean, we have people on our team who want to sell 100 listings next year, and we have people on our team who want to sell 24 homes. There's a big difference between that, and both of them are okay because it meets our minimum standard. And so it's really easy to hold people accountable because it's their goals, right? When you're pushing your goals on them, that's not going to work. It's not going to work for real estate agents. And then with your operations people, it's really having them understand the big picture, and then they're going to take their their ownership over that part of it. So.
Someone's asking if people can go in victim mode if we're asking, well, like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Yes, that can definitely happen.
Yeah, of course.
And then you can just switch it back to being solution based. And I mean, the most helpful thing that I find to say is, like, if we're really stuck in victim mode here, and it's like, I'm asking you and you're whining, and I'm asking you're whining, or whatever it is, it's like, well, we can sit here and you can fight for your limitations, right? We can do that. Or we can decide to go and accomplish your goal if this is something that actually matters to you, or we can take it off your 411.
Right. It's not important. Then week after week after week, well, that's telling me something.
Right. It's either not important or it's just not working. Maybe we need to replace it. Like, a ton of our agents have taken off open houses as one of their top lead gen strategies, and we've replaced it with door knocking and other things because they're just getting a higher return. Yeah. So if that's not where their time is best used, then change it.
Yeah. And then really the great thing about the 411 is that it has the business and the personal goals, right? And so we're always helping people tie what they're doing during the day to the personal stuff, okay? And you know what the personal stuff is because they've laid it out for you on their 411. So the personal stuff might be, I want to take my family to Disney World. I need a new car. I need to, help my grandmother with, medical bills, whatever that looks like. And so then in that moment when they're getting into victim mode, you can really have the conversation and say, well, you know what? You told me, right, last month that you want to save $10,000 so that you and your family can go to Disney World, right? Either you're going to do the activities that's going to cause you to have success and be able to go to Disney World, or you're not going to do them. It's your choice. So really it's not us kind of, forcing them to do what they need to do. It's really reminding them of why they're doing what they're doing.
Or finding ways to reinforce the pain. I had an agent who, before I was on the team, and she every day, she taught her daughter, when I do this lead generation that I'm supposed to do, I turn it yellow on my calendar. And her daughter knew to check every day to make sure it was yellow. And if she hadn't done what she was supposed to do, her daughter got candy instead of dinner. And that was the agent's pain because she was really anti-candy.
That's great.
Right?
So Leanna is asking, doesn't the personal stuff also get too personal? Well, when people do their 411, I tell them, if you don't want me to know about it and hold you accountable to it, then don't put it on your 411. Yeah. That's fine. So, yeah. Okay, and so we've talked a lot about this, but here's really the structure of the 411, which is it's 30 minutes, or in the case of Claire, if you're doing a lot of them, 25 minutes, so you can have a little time in between. You want it time blocked on your calendar weekly. You put it in the folder with their GPS stapled to the inside of it, and then the employee brings 2 copies of the 411 to the meeting. Take notes, ask them how their week went as far as completing their priorities, and then really you agree on your priorities for the next week. And that's really where their 411 for the next week comes in, right? So they've agreed, we finished this, and then this is what we're going to do moving forward. And that should already be on their 411, like what their priorities are. So. Yeah, and then lather, rinse, repeat with each member of the organization. And that's really what success looks like.
Yep. I think the most important thing to remember, if you're someone that's going to be holding someone accountable in their 411, and this isn't like a peer-to-peer thing, which a lot of you have messaged in saying you're going to do, is you have to have care and candor. And both of those things can be really, challenging. The care has to be there, and not just has to be there, they have to know it. Yeah. So it used to be that I really had a lot of care for the people when I was a productivity coach, but I wasn't showing it. So they weren't always feeling my care, even though it was there. I was like much heavier on the candor, which is how I was actually showing my care, but it wasn't coming across that way. So that in order for you to have candor, which is the only way that you can have an effective 411, you have to have the care and they have to know it. But if all you're doing is caring and not having the candor, it won't work. Yeah. So that balance is really important. And I heard someone say once that candor without care is like just harassment, right? So you can't just harass them into doing stuff. They have to know that when you're being really frank and really direct and really, firm, it's because I just care about you too much. Yeah. And
I mean, sometimes Claire's office is right over here. We share a wall. Sometimes I hear her yelling, and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't want to know what's going on over there. Yeah.
Well,
a lot of candor.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing though is usually when I'm yelling care.
Yeah.
When I yell at them, I'm like yelling my care because I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't yell candor.
So just to review, hopefully you guys figured out how to create a killer 411, and you guys are going to develop and maintain a 411 habit, not only in your own life, but on your team. And then you've learned kind of the nuts and bolts on how to facilitate a 411. We do have a couple minutes for questions, and I'm just going to scroll back because I know, okay, so Gina is asking, do you have weekly 411 meetings with your operations team? Yes. If so, what do those look like? They look exactly the same. The operations team has their personal and professional goals on there. They have metrics that they need to meet. Oh, Zach, you're so sweet. That's so nice. I'm not flustered. He said I'm his favorite person in all of KW. Okay. So,
do you use the CGI system for metrics?
Yeah.
Yes, and there are some additional things that we include in our calculations that CGI doesn't currently incorporate, and yet once we get all of our new tech, it's going to incorporate way more than we have.
All the CGI is going to flow into the 411.
Can you
all the good stuff?
Explain what you mean by having
We talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, ladies, when you do a stand-up, do you do that on Zoom call or no? Hey, Scott. So we don't do a Zoom call, but we use Uber Conference. Yeah, we use Uber Conference, and people call in, or a lot of people are here already. Any other questions? I think we've answered most of them. Kelly would like to have a copy of Wendy's. Yes, I can do that. So I guess what I'll do is when we send out the recording, I'll set up an auto email so that you guys can get a copy of my 411. I have a copy of it that I'll send out to everyone. You're funny. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, here's more information. So definitely read The One Thing. There's lots of free resources at theonething.com, and that's THE1 thing. And then if you're interested in our team, you can visit papazanproperties.com/careers. Or if you're interested in learning more about becoming a part of our team, you can text join PPG to 44222. Thank you guys for showing up. As always, hopefully you got some value out of today. And as always, you know, the price is right. And thank you, Claire, for joining me. This is your first PPG webinar. Yeah, you did a great job. So congrats. Keep rocking it.
Thanks for being here, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.